We're going to come through here. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אכסר, מנות אשר ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינחלני. נפשי אשובב, יענקני במקלי צדק למען שמו. עם כי ילך וקיצל מוות, לא ירא רעה כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, ושענת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The words of the 23rd Psalm, Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. Giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Welcome everyone, thank you so much for coming out. We also welcome all of you online. Thank you for tuning in this morning. My name is Rabbi Yaniv Almas. I'm the spiritual leader of congregation Shaarey Zedek here in Winnipeg, Canada. And it's my great honor to be here officiating this funeral service of Meltzer of blessed memory, who was also known to the Jewish people by his Hebrew name, Meir David ben Menachem Mendel Machla Sarah, Zichrono Livracha. blessed memory. Marv was the son of Mendel and Marcia Meltzer of blessed memory, beloved husband of Ruth for some 48 years, the brother of Sheila and Arthur Fox and Chuck and Juanita Meltzer, the father of Stephen Meltzer and Nina Meltzer Ross and Mike Ross. Marvin passed away peacefully after a courageous battle with cancer on January 24th at the age of 71. One of the great stories that we just read in the Bible at the synagogues the past week is the one where Joshua and the people of Israel were in the middle of a great battle. Moses was on a hill holding up the rod in the air. As long as Moses had his hands in the air, Joshua and the people of Israel will be winning the war. Now, picture this. Joshua is down there winning the battle. But the reason he's winning the battle is because Moses is on the hill holding up his hands. Without Moses doing his part, Joshua and the people of Israel will have been defeated. You know what? This resembles our lives. We didn't get where we are now on our own. We had influential role models that inspired us and shaped us into what we are today. Today we remember all those moments when Marv was holding up his hand so other people could win, so they could have a better life. In which aspects of life was Marv Meltzer an inspiration? What did he do during his life, you may ask? Well, that's an excellent question, and maybe not an easy one to answer, since he was involved on so many things. Winter pages. Marv was a businessman who ventured in advertisement, speakers, and bagels. A comedian with that Meltzer humor, a cyclist, a lover of Israel, a cook, sports fan, but above all, a family man. Family was very important to Marv. You know, thanks to social media, Marv was able to find relatives all over the place. But his two best friends were his brother and his sister. He was close to nieces and nephews. And family was so important to Marv that during his battle with cancer, he came to Nina's wedding and found the strength to stand up and even give a speech. But perhaps, I was told, the most important member of his family was Hogan, his dog, named after Hulk Hogan. He was following Marv everywhere he went. Marv was always very active. He may didn't look athletic, but his bike rides were legendary. Like the time he went to Israel with his wife Ruth and rode his bike from Jerusalem to Eilat. He wasn't a synagogue goer, but Marv and Ruth went to Israel a number of times. Every trip will include not only bicycle trips, but also buying beautiful pieces of Judaica to display at home, in the rabbi's room, as they call it. I had the pleasure to take a virtual tour of that room, during my Zoom meetings with the family. And I have to say I was impressed by the beautiful pieces of art from Israel. Marv always had the best words of advice for his children. He liked to cook. He liked to experiment new recipes. Always hosting gatherings, usually around football games. And so much more that Marv did during his life. And this is the time to remember, to realize that the body may be gone, but there is so much that stays here with us. And it's important in this place to remember those things. But according to the Jewish tradition, the people who should remember our loved ones are the members of their family. That's why I would like to invite now Marv's son, Stephen, to come to the microphone to eulogize his father.
Are we G-rated or X-rated? I get it. How do you memorialize the life of your hero amid grief and emotion over the loss of that hero? More than death itself, I have always feared the day. I've always feared that daunting reality that one day I'd be faced with the challenge of expressing a lifetime of memories of such a hero to me and everyone he touched. And doing so in just a few short minutes in minus 30 weather as we say goodbye and lay to rest that hero forever. That hero was my father, Marvin David Meltzer. My dad was committed to making this world smile. Everyone he touched shares the memory of a person whose priority in life was being there for others and making sure, no matter what the occasion, he found room to make us smile. It was my father, whether solicited or not, that offered words of wisdom, perhaps through his actions, inspirational or aspirational guidance, or most likely the case, brought happiness when needed through what all of them know him best for, a sharp-witted but unequivocally ridiculous joke. Poor pun. I think we all need to be reminded at this moment that as we say goodbye and honor my father, a man who, whether as a loving husband to my mother Ruth, loving father to myself and Nina, and most recently her husband Mike, brother to Sheila and Chuck, or close friend to all those present today, my father leaves us with one last witty joke, this time introducing us to his spiritual presence, rather than through the words that has made us smile so many times. This time it's through his actions. His actions, rather than words today, remind us of his humor. My father is looking down with certainty, wanting us to see that he will always be in our lives, with his first course of humor being here today, right now. We are here today to honor the one person who would hate more than anyone to stand outside in an open field in these bone-chilling temperatures. And I really don't think this is a coincidence. On that note, thank you everyone for making it out today, and I recognize the temperatures aren't warm, and I'll keep this short. Although a fighter through and through, cancer was a battle that he didn't win, and on Monday morning, my father passed away. while overcome with grief and sorrow, knowing I will never be able to see him, to hug him, to watch hockey, or hear one of his sharp-witted stupid puns, or share a moment with him again. His journey in life will continue in the hearts of myself and all those who shared his life with him. Dads are someone to look up to, someone to follow, someone to admire, someone to be proud of, and someone to brag about, someone to hold, someone to cry with, somebody to learn from, somebody to speak with, somebody who listens to you. To be there and offer guidance, assistance, or simply put a smile on your face when anyone lucky enough to know him needed it most. I am so incredibly grateful and happy that I can stand here today and tell you that I have had all of this and much, much more with my father. It was but one thing if there's but one thing I hope my dad leaves knowing, it's how grateful I was to have him as my father. Thank you, Dad. Nina, you mentioned to me that with all Dad taught us, you weren't sure he covered how to go on without him. But in fact, to reflect on the person he was to everyone who met him, to learn how he lived his life, and to reflect on his achievements in life as a son to his parents, as a brother to his siblings, as a father to us, as uncle or cousin, or as a friend to everyone who let them in his life. Nina, our dad leaves us with memories of a person to aspire to. And should we live through the ideas and morals he lived with, we have everything we need. He's blessed everyone, not just my sister and I. And he leaves us all with a memory of joy and compassion through which he shared in his lasting memory of how amazing my father was. It will be a memory that will forever leave a smile on all of our faces. Sure, on a macro level, there isn't a person here, or online for that matter, that hasn't experienced the sharp-witted intelligence of my father. In any conversation with him, as though a trigger in your words caused my father to react, he was able to reply with a joke or a pun, no matter the occasion, certainly without regard to the appropriateness. His ability to calm the room with his humor, wit would always prevail. I do concur my family all shares his Meltzer humor, but without a doubt, and I apologize with all due respect, Uncle Chuck, my father led the charge. Best exemplified by the story of my grandfather who, in his later years of Alzheimer's, was taken to the hospital by my father and my uncle, and on the way out had trouble containing himself, at which time my father quickly looks at my uncle and goes, "One of us has to clean this up. One of us has to get the car. I'll get the car." But I learned the meaning of life through my father. It's through my dad I learned the meaning of love and its sacrifices and commitments that entails, and the happiness that's rewarded from it. I'll always remember the story of how my father fell in love with my mother at first sight. Perhaps through my mother's eyes, he was just a friend of. My father never gave up on the idea that my mother was the one, and he endured a long-distance passion, not just from Manitoba to Alberta, but while my mother went to Israel to help out with the wars. But in the end, it was my dad's good looks and charm, which I add he got from me. He won her over, and in 48 years through his actions showed me what love offers, and it was through their love that I saw how fulfilling life could be. It couldn't have been easy raising Nina. But as my parents guided us through life, teaching us to be independent, they together showed right until my father's last days that happily ever after does exist. Hand in hand, whether it be Mexico, bike excursions around the world, family trips to Africa and Israel, their love for each other leaves me knowing that in the end, if given one last chance, my father would say to my mom, We sure had a good time, didn't we? As a father, there are countless values he showed us, not just through words, but through his actions. But reflecting on how he carried out his role as a father to us, I have come to learn of a responsibility we have for those who need our guidance in life. My father brought us into the world, and that day forward, our happiness and success in achieving any dream we had was all that mattered to my father. I can't think of a night he wasn't there to put us to sleep. My sister he called Cuddle Bunny, even made up a song for her, which I'll save you all from having to hear me sing. We were his world, and in leaving us, he offers memories I am so lucky to have. A safari to Africa, or perhaps my greatest memory was when, knowing how much I loved hockey, he brought me on a trip to see the Winnipeg Jets 1.0 in Vancouver and then in LA. And I flew on the airplane. Dale Howardchuk was signing autographs. I went on the Jets bus to the game in LA, and I don't know how he pulled that off. The greatest part of that memory was that was the year Doug Smale went to the All-Star game, and upon returning to Winnipeg, he showed up at my house with a t-shirt, and my father invited him in, and we took a hot tub together. And he shared his experience of their All-Star game. Perhaps a more artistic memory, which a lot of you didn't know about, was his photography skills. A very short-lived hobby. The failure in his skill was found in a picture album from a trip to Mexico, where upon arrival, we learned the resort he had booked was a nude beach. To look through the album, you will note the many pictures of mine and my sister's elbow. We developed the photos, and somehow all the times he would send us in a direction for a photo, all that was captured was our elbow, with the focus being the nude couple we were standing next to. It didn't matter how tall a mountain he needed to climb. He didn't let anything stand in the way of making us the best persons we could be. It came at some expenses. He made me stand on Pembina once in a spandex suit and a bagel costume, where to my surprise an SGR bus filled with my friends drove by honking. To those who saw that, I do want to remind you it was cold outside. I am who I am because he gave me everything I needed to be who I am. Because he understood his role in reflecting on his presence in the lives, he understood his role in life. In reflecting on the presence in the lives of his brother and sister, as well as the relationship he cherished with his nieces and nephews, I learned the value of family. I think my aunt would say he may not have been the brother growing up she always wanted, having heard nightmare stories of what he was like as a child. He leaves this world with his two best friends being his brother and his sister. Over the last 20 plus years, I can't think of a day he didn't set aside the time to call his sister, following a call to either myself or Nina, because he was so happy to have spoken with her. I look at the relationship he had with his brother, Chuck. Bike rides in the city, trips to Mexico, their shared passion and commitment, of course, to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. In the end, he showed through example the value of a relationship with a sibling and all its offers in life through its journey. But not just his brother and sister, but his nieces and nephews. At times, my dad broke all the rules. His commitment to creating an unbreakable family web of love offers a valuable example how far a good heart can forever change and be remembered by not just your immediate family, but all family. The last few days with my cousins, we've laughed and shared stories at the number of Meltzers we didn't even know existed that he somehow got a hold of on Facebook. We've shared so many laughs with my cousins. The value my dad and family created strengthened the relationships I have with my family that will live far beyond my father. And with love, he will certainly be remembered by them. My cousins, too, left with that same memory of a very ridiculous sense of humor, whether it be upon their entrance and them yelling, "Uncle Marvin," and him yelling back, Uncle David, Uncle Jackie. Or, as David reminded me, my dad's favorite joke was just before a Jets game growing up. He would always ask us if we knew what the score was going to be before the game even started. And of course we would say no. And he says, 0-0, dummies. It hasn't started. Stupid, but memorable. His commitment to family and his commitment to always keeping his family top of mind and heart has created a glue that lives well beyond his life and leaves me under threat, standing through all he has done for everyone as to the value of family. Finally, his friends. There isn't a person here today reflecting on my dad's journey in life isn't left with a memory that will forever bring a smile to their face and warmth to their heart. Somehow, while maintaining the love with my mother, the commitment to being there for my sister and I, acting as the glue and a forever bonding our family, he leaves this world carving a place in the hearts of so many friends. Too cold to share the countless examples and stories I've learned and seen as to how the relationships with friends in his life were always held close to his heart, I can't think of a better ending than what may have been his final gathering at our home. Since my dad was diagnosed with cancer, day by day we saw the effects of that cancer break down my father physically and mentally. We were losing the person who meant so much to us. Yet as broken as cancer made him, the deterioration occurring day by day was not enough to stop him from having a Grey Cup party, because he was such a fan of the Jets and, of course, all of his friends. My dad, cancer never took away any commitment in life to carry out the values I mentioned, which he leaves in memory for each and every person he touched. My dad had a huge heart, and for those who knew his medical condition, there's your first Meltzer pun. That heart touched the lives of so many people at so many different times, in so many different ways. I'm blessed to have had him as my father. And can't help but think every life he touched has been blessed by such a happy memory of such a good person. Reflecting on his life, as I have not just these last few days, but in communicating with all family and friends since his diagnosis with cancer, I think everybody can look down as he lies in peace, and with the fondest memories and a warming smile, share the same memory. A memory that perhaps also warrants our final words being, we sure had a good time, Dad. Thank you for making things such a good time. I'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, so much for such beautiful words of eulogy. By the way, not on my notes, but just a remark about the sense of humor. That, according to the rabbis, sense of humor should be an integral part of every Jew. I found 2,000 years old and even older documents where the rabbis recommends his colleagues to start every class, every lecture, with a humorous remark or a joke. And they were saying even back then how therapeutical a joke could be to open up our hearts and to enlighten our things. Thank you so much, everyone, again for being here. According to the Jewish tradition, the next step of the funeral is to proceed with the memorial prayer, the El Maleh Rachamim. El Maleh Rachamim Shochem Bameroimim Hametzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina ומעלות קדושים, קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע המזהירים את נשמת את נשמת מאיר דוד בן מנחם מנדל ומחלה שרה שהלך לעולמו בעבור שאנו מתפללים ועד הזכרת נשמתו בגן עדן בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו לכם בלרחמים אז תראו בסדר כנפיו לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים החיים את נשמתו אדוני ונחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Marvin Meltzer, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. Please join me now in the recitation of the words of comfort, the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Itgadal ve'itgadash Shemei Rabah, v'yalmad divrei chilutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei, l'chol Beit Israel, v'galav v'zman kariv ve'imru. Amen. יהל שמר רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה להמירם בעלמה וימרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שרה ולציון בירושלים. May God bless you and comfort you. Let us all say amen. The funeral service is formally over. We have one more thing to do here at the cemetery before we can return to our vehicles, and that is to participate in the burial process. So the next step will be for family, immediate family first. We'll come to take a shovel and to put a little bit of earth on top of the coffin. After that, everybody is invited to come forward and to participate. According to the rabbis, putting earth on top of a coffin is an act of kindness. So this is an opportunity to participate in this traditional ritual for all of you who came by this morning. Just a quick reminder, it was a little bit of a confusion, but the Shiva will be private. So now I would like to invite immediate family first, come forward, pick up a shovel, put some ground, some earth on top of the coffin, and again, everybody else can do it after. After you do this, please return to your vehicles. Thank you so much everyone for coming. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. If you feel that the ground is too hard, there is a white bucket with fine gravel there that you can use. It's a little bit easier to do.